Chapter 1539. Whereas on the other side, Devil class and other students also sensed that something was amiss as all of their faces revealed an anxious and uneasy expression. They had already completed the 5 rounds of physical training. It was resting time now. They pestered the 2 instructors to inquire about Yiqing Luo and Long Yunzhan's situation. How would the 2 instructors know about the situation? But from Gue Wu and Zhou Mo earlier, they saw their complicated expressions. Deep in their hearts, they thought that Yiqing Luo should have met with danger. Facing these students' bombardment of questioning, they were more or less in a dilemma of how to open their mouths. This bit of hesitation made Devil class's students even more worried. When Zi Qianqian saw this situation, the smile on his face grew brighter. The exhaustion from physical training was swept away at this moment. Just at this moment. Not too far away, there was a commotion. It seemed like someone was arguing about something. Following that, they saw a group of people walking on the wind not too far away from the open space. Right at the front was a man and a lady. The man was peerless, like a celestial being. The lady was devastatingly beautiful, like a fairy. The 2 of them walked hand in hand, like a beautiful painting. When the lady's face was completely revealed, the students from various academies immediately recognized her. Student Yiqing Luo. It's Student Yiqing Luo. The students looked at Yiqing Luo in astonishment. Not knowing why, that young lady who was covered in blood was obviously in a sorry state. But at this moment, there was a sense of majesty which made one unable to look straight at her. That kind of invisible imposing manner. It made one subconsciously want to submit to her. What was going on? Yiqing Luo's imposing manner was indeed very strong. But she didn't seem to be that strong. When everyone's vision fell onto the man beside Yiqing Luo, who had the same outstanding temperament, their hearts suddenly started to tremble uncontrollably. Purple robe, peerless style. Wasn't this the legendary overlord? Most of the students present knew about this. Yiqing Luo and the rumored overlord had a close relationship. They had not expected that they would actually meet the overlord here. The students were extremely shocked. Some of them kept denying Dmo Xian's identity in their hearts. Someone who looks good in purple might not be the overlord. That's right. His Majesty is very busy every day. How could he have time to come to such a place? I heard that the overlord has been dealing with the war between the Imperial Palace and the Dark Forces recently. This person is definitely not the overlord, however, in the next instant. The 2 instructors recovered from the shock and immediately walked forward, cupping their fists respectfully. Master Di Zun. They were instructors under the ghost martial artist. He had been training students in various academies all year round. Naturally, she was fortunate enough to have seen Dmo Xian's face. Dmo Xian took a look at the 2 instructors and his thin lips curled up slightly, revealing a faint smile. The both of you must be little Luo's instructors. I'll have to trouble the both of you to take care of little Luo. The 2 instructors were stunned. At the same time, he took a glance at Yiqing Luo who was standing beside Dmo Xian. He immediately understood and quickly put on a smiling face. Overlord is too polite. Student Yiqing Luo is a rare talent. We are just fulfilling our duty as instructors. This scene shocked the students. The students who were still doing physical training fell to the ground one by one. Oh my God! Did they hear wrongly? The overlord actually smiled at the 2 instructors because of Yiqing Luo. And he smiled in such a melancholic manner that made one's heart palpitate. Where was the cold and aloof overlord? Where was the cold and unfeeling overlord? Chapter 1540. Rumors were indeed untrustworthy. While they were chatting, Instructor Luo and Instructor Li walked over one after another. On Instructor Luo's back, there was a man who seemed to be seriously injured. In Long Yunjan's arms was a woman. The group of people came back. Not a single person was missing. Everyone had returned. What's going on? Instructor Ren went up to Instructor Luo. When he saw the face of the man on his back, his face turned pale. This is young Master Zhu. Instructor Luo nodded. Bring young Master Zhu to the wooden shed first and treat his wounds. As he spoke, he was about to walk towards the wooden shed. Instructor Luo, there's no need. DMO Xian calmly said, I still have some matters to attend to and will be leaving soon. Leave this young Master Zhu to me. Instructor Luo stopped in his tracks. He had been following them all the way. How could they not see the open strife and veiled struggle between DMO Xian and Zhu Wuxian? Chu Wuxin and DMO Xian were obviously love rivals. He handed Zhu Wuxian over to DMO Xian. If anything happened to Zhu Wuxian, Death God Castle and the power behind Zhu Wuxian would not let them off. However, if he didn't hand it over, he would be defying the D Zun's orders. It was hard to get off the tiger. Don't worry, Instructor Luo. I'm not interested in him at all. DMO Xian narrowed his peach blossom eyes as he shot a glance at Zhu Wuxian with a smile that didn't look like a smile. Since this lord is unable to accompany Lil Luo, to train, then Chu Wuxian absolutely cannot stay here. Instructor Luo, why do I suddenly feel like the overlord's jealousy was so childish? Was this an illusion? Instructor Luo, don't worry, Xian knows what he's doing. Yiqing Luo naturally guessed what Instructor Luo was concerned about as she opened her mouth and spoke in a warm voice. Hand Zhu Wuxian over to Xian. Xian will bring Zhu Wuxian to Death God Castle's people. Seeing that Yiqing Luo had already opened her mouth, Instructor Luo hesitated for a moment but still passed Zhu Wuxian to DMO Xian. Yiqing Luo urged them to take a look at Tong Ziqing's wound. Then, he sent this group of people away. The students of Devil class immediately rushed forward. Slowly, only Yiqing Luo and DMO Xian were left. Of course, this also included Zhu Wuxin, who was lying on the side, as well as the surrounding students who were staring at them dumbfoundedly. I'm leaving. DMO Xian stared at Yiqing Luo's face with an infatuated gaze. Yiqing Luo replied with a soft N. If he hadn't been sucked into the foundation of the fire lair, he would have died. DMO Xian had probably returned to the imperial palace. But because of her, he had stayed for such a long time. He was afraid that the imperial palace was already in chaos. Yiqing Luo could not bear for DMO Xian to leave her. However, he had no choice but to do so. After I'm done, I'll stay with you and watch you grow. DMO Xian stretched out his long arm and pulled her into his embrace as he gently kissed her on the head. Lil Luo, today's matter, I will absolutely not allow it to happen again. If I find out that you're trying to be brave again, I will use my own method. To imprison you by my side forever. The elegant sandalwood scent on him made Yiqing Luo slightly intoxicated. She replied with a soft N as her arms wrapped tightly around his firm waist. Raising her eyes, she met with that pair of vibrant peach blossom eyes. Her charming eyes curved. Xian, I'll wait for you. DMO Xian's eyes flashed. He bent over and kissed Yiqing Luo's pink lips fiercely. She endured the dull pain in her heart. When she opened her eyes again, she had already recovered her usual cold and arrogant demeanor. By the time Yiqing Luo walked to his side, she suddenly struggled a little in Long Yunjan's arms. Then, a tearing pain came from the burning wound on his back. Her face turned pale as she looked at Yiqing Luo. Qing Luo, I'm in so much pain. Yiqing Luo hurried over. Let's go to the wooden shed first, the others prepare clean water. Saying that, she dragged Long Yunjian as she hurriedly rushed towards the direction of the wooden shed. Long Yunjian followed behind as he staggered a little. His expression was complicated as he looked at the person in his arms. He felt a warm, sticky feeling coming from his palm. His body suddenly froze. Chapter 1542. Tong Ziqing's pale little face started to sweat. She turned her face away and shut her eyes, ignoring Long Yunjian. The young man who was carrying her tightened his arms. A soft sigh was heard by the side of her ear. Ziqing, I'm sorry. That soft sigh made Tong Ziqing's heart throb in pain again. Her nose started to turn sour as her eyes turned red. What she wanted wasn't Long Yunjian's apology, nor was it Long Yunjian's guilt. She loved Long Yunjian. She also knew that Long Yunjian loved Yiqing Luo. Therefore, loving him was only her personal matter, and that was enough. Because of Tong Ziqing's struggle earlier, the wound on her back had indeed split open. Blood stained her clothes. When Yiqing Luo helped Tong Ziqing apply medicine, she dispersed Long Yunjian. Long Yunjian stared blankly at Tong Ziqing's direction. Until Yan Shaoyi pushed him away. Then he had some reaction. Before he left, Long Yunjian's gaze swept past the clothes which had already been unbuttoned, revealing the blood-red wound on his back. His heart suddenly twitched. Feeling heartache? Or feeling guilty? Yan Shaoyi scoffed lightly as she forcefully pushed Long Yunjian out of the wooden shed site. Long Yunjian didn't reply. The current Long Yunjian looked extremely dispirited and lost. There wasn't any trace of his usual indifference. His azure blue eyes stared blankly ahead, not knowing what he was thinking about. Looking at Long Yunjian's look, Yan Shaoyi's mood instantly became agitated as she bit her lips tightly, speaking out for Tong Ziqing. Zhan, you obviously know that Ziqing likes you, and has always liked you. Why can't you place your gaze on her? She didn't hesitate to sacrifice her own life for you. Even to the extent that because of a sentence from you, she didn't hesitate to aggravate her own injury. You know what it means for a woman to have a scar on her body, but she still doesn't care. As Yan Shaoyi spoke, her voice was already choking. Her heart ached for Tong Ziqing. Her heart ached, her heart ached. Her heart ached, her heart ached. The one Tong Ziqing fell in love with was such a cold man. Tong Ziqing fell in love with such a cold man. After some time, his azure blue eyes blinked as his focus fell onto Yiqing Luo. His expression was cold and his voice was calm. What about you? Shi Shanglan has always liked you. Why can't you look at him? Yan Shaoyi's words were stuck in her throat. Long Yunjian didn't force her. He just stared at her calmly. Yan Shaoyi had nowhere to hide. She clenched her fists and said, "That's different. I already have someone I like in my heart, so I can't possibly like Shi Shanglan. How do you know that I don't have anyone I like?" Long Yunjian's voice was still as calm as ever. But in Yan Shaoyi's ears, it was like a clap of thunder. Far away from the flame lair, on the back of the nine-tailed fox, the two men were speechless. About the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Zhu Wu Axan, who was lying at the end, looked coldly at Dmo Xian as he spoke in a chilly voice. "What exactly do you want?" Dmo Xian replied without turning his head, "I'll send you back." "Are you that kind?" Zhu Wu Axan sneered coldly, the coldness in his eyes becoming even more intense. "This lord naturally isn't that kind." Dmo Xian narrowed his long and narrow peach blossom eyes as his lips curled into an arc. "To this lord, you still don't have any qualifications to stir up any waves in front of this lord." The meaning behind his words. He totally didn't put Zhu Wu Axan in his eyes. Chapter 1543. Every single word and sentence was declaring the relationship between him and Yi-Ching Luo. Inside and outside, it was displaying the sweetness between him and Yi-Ching Luo. Zhu Wuxin's face grew increasingly pale. A pair of cold eyes, suffused with a biting chill, stared icily at Dmo Xian's complacent, smiling face. So, you totally don't have to worry about what this lord will do to you. Dmo Xian calmly accepted his offensive gaze. That smug tone caused the anger and jealousy in Zhu Wuxin's heart to burn even brighter. Dmo Xian, everything is just the beginning. Yi-Ching Luo has already recalled everything that we had experienced in the past. She will return to my side, it's just a matter of time. Zhu Wuxin's eyes were cold and deep, and his expression was extremely cold. His voice grew colder and colder. It seeped into one's heart and gave rise to an indescribable chill. We still don't know who the final winner will be. Zhu Wuxian's declaration of war did not move Dmo Xian in the slightest. On the contrary, Dmo Xian's lips curled upwards as he gave an extremely ridiculing smile. Zhu Wuxian, if you really love Lil Luo, how would you not know Lil Luo's character? That smile was like a sharp blade that pierced Zhu Wuxian's eyes. Zhu Wuxin's body tensed up, and a trace of deep coldness flashed across his eyes. Yes. He didn't know Yi-Ching Luo's character at all. The Yi-Ching Luo in his memory and the current Yi-Ching Luo were two extremes. But no matter if it was the former Yi-Ching Luo or the current Yi-Ching Luo, he didn't understand her at all. If it was said that the former Yi-Ching Luo was timid and weak, but under that kind of situation, she was able to save her who was covered in injuries and almost died. He could even wittily deceive Yi Tianquang. If it was said that the former Yi-Ching Luo had her own intelligence and bravery. However, when she was bullied by her brothers and sisters or servants, she could only endure it bitterly and did not know how to resist. They had been together for nearly half a month. He still didn't understand Yi-Ching Luo. Not to mention the current Yi-Ching Luo. Yi-Ching Luo had recalled the past. Would she really return to his side? Zhu Wuxian actually did not have much confidence. What's more, he felt that, in Yi-Ching Luo's heart, there was no longer the beautiful memories that they had experienced together 5 years ago. But, when she saw Dmo Xian proudly proclaiming his sovereignty, Zhu Wuxian's heart could not bear it no matter what. Zhu Wuxian, you're really a very pitiful person. Dmo Xian cast a sidelong glance at the man whose face was ashen as he laughed out softly. Zhu Wuxian lowered his cold eyes and suppressed the dull pain in his heart. If you truly love Lil Luo, then you should be able to sense who exactly is the person you love. Even if it's the same face, the same body, and the same identity, the feeling is still different. What you're obsessed with is the past Xiaoqing Luo, and not the current Xiao Luo, This point. Even you yourself have not discovered it. Dmo Xian said with a smile yet not a smile. Every word was spat out very clearly. Zhu Wuxian's ashen face immediately stiffened. His brows creased tightly as he stared at Dmo Xian in astonishment, as though he was questioning the meaning behind his words. Dmo Xian shifted his line of sight away, not bothering with his offensive gaze. Zhu Wuxian's heart suddenly tightened at this moment. As though there was an icy cold big hand, tightly clutching his heart. It made him feel a suffocating unbearable feeling. Dmo Xian's words. What did he mean by that? What did he mean by the past Xiaoqing Luo, and not the current Xiao Luo, Chapter 1544. Flame Nest, Wooden Shed. Yi-Ching Luo applied the medicine on Tong Ziqing again. Just lie down properly and don't move around recklessly. Bear with the pain, itchiness, and whatnot. If the wound split open again, don't force me to let you sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. Tong Ziqing exhaled a light breath from her nose as a response. Yiqing Luo packed the healing items in her hands, picked up the basin which had already been dyed red and left the wooden shed. Just as he left the wooden shed, he saw Long Yunzhan standing at the side with a cold expression. His eyes seemed to be flowing with an incomprehensible meaning. Hearing footsteps, Long Yunzhan regained his senses from his deep thoughts as he turned and fixed his gaze on Yiqing Luo. His gaze finally landed on the bright red basin in Yiqing Luo's hands. She. Long Yunzhan's thin lips moved slightly and his voice was a little bitter. After pausing for a moment, he asked, "How's her injury?" "If she cooperates, she will at most recover within 3 days." Yiqing Luo passed the basin of water to Long Yunzhan. "I've applied medicine on her and now she needs to rest. After all, she's injured because of you, so take good care of her for these 3 days." Long Yunzhan stared blankly at the basin full of bright red water. That redness dyed his azure blue eyes with a reddish hue. There was a dull pain in his heart. "I will take good care of her." He opened his mouth and spat out a few words in a hoarse voice. He lowered his eyes, carried the basin of blood, and walked in another direction. Yiqing Luo looked at his back as she gave a long sigh. Hopefully, he would be able to detect Ziqing's feelings for him as soon as possible. Yiqing Luo took a look at the darkening sky and rushed towards the direction of the open space. Most of the students had already completed the 5 rounds of physical training. They were exhausted and panting. However, there were also about 300 people who were still struggling desperately. By the time Yiqing Luo rushed to the open space, there were already hundreds of people lying on the open space, densely packed together. Devil Class's students immediately went forward and surrounded Yiqing Luo, expressing their concern in a flurry. For a moment, the entire open space was bustling with noise and excitement. The other students who had fallen to the ground also pricked up their ears to listen to their movements. Yiqing Luo suddenly disappeared. No one knew where he had gone. Master Gue Wu and instructor Zhou personally went to look for them. In the end, not only did Di Zun accompany him back, he also met the noble young Master Chu. Young Master Zhu was even injured. There were also students from the Devil Class who were injured. All the students were extremely curious. He wanted to know what had happened to Yiqing Luo and the others. Among the crowd, 2 pairs of venomous eyes stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. These 2 people were Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian. Yiqing Luo, that slut, why would she return? And, he was unscathed. Wasn't she supposed to have died inside the flame lair? Why did she come back? Zi Qianqian was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Her beautiful face was also extremely distorted because of her jealousy. Su Xiaolian, who was standing to the side, heaved a sigh of relief, but she also felt uneasy. Yiqing Luo returned safely. This also meant that Zi Qianqian still needed her help. But when Yiqing Luo returned, she would definitely not let her off. Su Xiaolian secretly cast a sidelong glance at Zi Qianqian. Zi Qianqian's distorted face was filled with viciousness. And around them, there were quite a number of students who shot their gazes over because of Zi Qianqian's unconcealed murderous intent. When they saw Zi Qianqian's expression, all of them started to discuss in disdainful whispers. However, Zi Qianqian's attention was placed on Yiqing Luo. Chapter 1545. Su Xiaolian didn't go out of her way to remind him. She sneered in her heart. If not for the fact that she wanted to stay in the Heavenly Academy, she would not even bother to serve Zi Qianqian, who looked smart but was actually as dumb as a pig. She had maintained the image of a cold goddess for many years. At this moment, he actually couldn't hold on any longer. Then she would let the other students discover her true colors. Su Xiaolian restrained the coldness in her eyes. Did Zi Qianqian really think that she was a fool? Burning the bridge after crossing the river, he even wanted to kill her. Would she still be as obedient to Zi Qianqian as she was before? Su Xiaolian suddenly remembered that 2 hours ago, when she had gone to find a secluded place to pee, she had run into someone there. The man's words echoed in his mind. Bring Zi Qianqian over, I can help you. To let Yi Qing Luo die without a burial ground. Xiaolian. Suddenly, he heard a low, sharp shout. Su Xiaolian snapped out of her thoughts and met Zi Qianqian's resentful eyes. She felt a chill down her spine and replied in a low voice, Qian goddess, you said earlier that someone can help me kill Yi Qing Luo? Zi Qianqian's voice seemed to be wrapped in a layer of frost, his whole body releasing a strong murderous aura. Su Xiaolian nodded vigorously. Zi Qianqian narrowed his eyes. All right, bring me to that person. But there's one more condition. Su Xiaolian was overjoyed, but then she pretended to be hesitant. Zi Qianqian frowned. What? That person said, if he wants Yi Qing Luo to die, you must cooperate with the plan. Su Xiaolian replied. Zi Qianqian's face darkened. Get her to cooperate with the plan. Was he thinking of using her as a weapon? Su Xiaolian could tell what Zi Qianqian was thinking at a glance. She advised in a low voice, Goddess Qianqian, since that person took the initiative to look for you, he must be sincere in cooperating with you. It's fine even if he's just using you. You and him can mutually benefit from each other. To put it plainly, Zi Qianqian went to see that person. Weren't they just using each other? Otherwise, on what basis would that person kill Yi Qing Luo for Zi Qianqian? It was just that the both of them had an irreconcilable enmity with Yi Qing Luo, hence they were cooperating with each other. Zi Qianqian pondered for a moment, but he did not give a direct answer. We'll talk about it after we meet. Su Xiaolian inwardly cursed, smelly whore, but on the surface, she nodded obediently and said, then tonight. I'll take you to see that person. Tonight? Zi Qianqian's expression froze. That person is here. There were only students from the various academies here. Following them were Gue Wu and the 5 instructors, as well as dozens of teachers and elders from the main courtyard. Was that person a student, or one of these teachers and elders? Yes. Su Xiaolian nodded. That person isn't one of our students. It seems like he's hiding in a dark corner of the blazing flame lair, observing everything here. He should have a huge hatred for Yi Qing Luo. All right, I'll meet him tonight. Zi Qianqian clenched his fists tightly as a murderous glint flashed in his eyes. The color of the sky gradually turned dark. After dinner, the students only rested for an hour before they were asked to go for a night run. Even at night, the temperature in the flame nest was extremely high. The feeling of being burned by the raging fire didn't show any signs of stopping. Intense heat. High-intensity physical training. These students' mouths were already parched and they found it hard to swallow their food. But if they didn't eat, they didn't have the energy to endure the devastation below. These pampered young masters, how could they bear this kind of life? Chapter 1546. Not long after, the students from the various academies had already emptied their water bags. When they went to ask the instructors for their water bags, they were rejected. It was stated clearly that each person could only receive 2 water bags a day. Moreover, in order to receive the water bags, they had to complete the tasks assigned by the instructors before they were eligible to receive it. When the news reached the ears of the students, those students who were preparing for the night run, all collapsed onto the ground. In such a hot climate, if there was no water supply, they had no way to survive. Their mouths were dry and they had to undergo brutal training. This was simply asking for their lives. Moreover, 2 water bags a day was not even enough for them to drink a mouthful. The students were cursing in their hearts, but no one dared to speak out. All right. All of you, keep your spirits up. Run 3 rounds around the air and you can rest. Instructor Luo's loud voice was extremely loud in the night. Instructor Li immediately chimed in aggressively, look at all of you, which part of you look like energetic students? Look at the students from the devil class, they still completed the 5 physical training, why didn't they complain about being tired? Instructor Li's words were meant to motivate the students. But at this juncture, everyone looked at the students from the devil class, all of them were refreshed and there was not a single drop of sweat on them. How could their hearts be balanced? Especially looking at them, each and every one of them was holding a water bag, drinking water contentedly. Their hearts almost collapsed. They were obviously students from the academy. Why was the treatment so different? Those perverts from the devil class, how could they be so perverted? Not only did they not admire the devil class in the slightest. Instead, from envy, it turned into jealousy, and finally into hatred. Human nature was like this. They were a little unhappy. They hoped that the whole world would be unhappy with them. And those elite students from the Heavenly Academy were also unable to balance their hearts. Immediately. Get ready. Start running. Instructor Li naturally did not ignore the gazes of the students looking at the devil class. Towards these students who did not know how to improve themselves, but were jealous of those who were better than them, he felt a surge of irritation in his heart. He simply could not be bothered to talk to these students. Instructor Li's character had always been irritable. No matter how exhausted the students were, they still perked up and started the night run. Devil class students were far ahead. Yiqing Luo had been paying close attention to the surrounding movements. He increased his perception to the maximum. Even with Gue Wu and Zhou Mo present, she was still a little worried. The people from the dark forces did not take action when they were not around. This point really made Yiqing Luo unable to understand. Logically speaking, when Zhou Mo, Gue Wu, and the others were trapped in the foundation of the fire lair, it was the best time for the dark forces to strike. Otherwise, he wouldn't have used those flame beasts to prevent them from leaving the base. Yiqing Luo was still speculating on the reason why the dark forces didn't take action. Therefore, she had to be vigilant at all times. And this vigilance, which made Yiqing Luo totally unaware of it. Kitty Li, who had always been by her side and sticking close to her, had disappeared without her noticing. Oh! Kitty Li was jogging behind her sister, as her bright eyes stared fixedly at Yiqing Luo's face. His eyes were filled with unconcealable admiration. The next moment, her body felt light. Someone tugged at his arm. Then, she fell into a wide embrace. Chapter 1547. Woo woo. Kitty Li's mouth was gagged, so she couldn't speak and could only struggle with all her might. His small hands were tightly clasped on the arm across his waist. Round nails, embedded in his flesh. The man behind her didn't even make a sound. Cat! A student beside him sensed it and called out. When he saw the person behind Kitty Li, he stopped talking. By the time Yiqing Luo turned around, Kitty Li was no longer by her side. Where's the cat? Yiqing Luo frowned and asked the student who made the noise. The young man looked at the dense forest not far away with a strange expression on his face. She was taken by Instructor Zhou Mo. Yiqing Luo thought of the foundation grounds, Zhou Mo who had been hugging Kitty Li and refused to let go. His brows twitched a few times. This Zhou Mo, could it be that he had taken a fancy to her family's kitten? However, since Zhou Mo took Kitty Li away, Kitty Li should be fine as well. Yiqing Luo didn't think too much as she called out to the devil class students and continued with their night jogging. In the dense forest, Kitty Li finally stopped in the midst of the kidnapping. The headscarf on his head had been taken off at some point. She pricked up her black ears and twitched. Apart from the sound of the warm wind blowing, the sound of students running could no longer be heard. The hand covering his mouth slowly moved away. Kitty Lee angrily opened her mouth and quickly bit the hand. Her pearly white teeth left a neat bite mark on the back of his hand. She bit his hand and snorted coldly, "Frivolous man. If you don't let go of Kitty, Kitty will scratch you to death with its sharp claws." She didn't use much strength. When she bit the back of Zhou Mo's hand, she didn't feel any pain. Instead, she felt a kind of numbing sensation. Zhou Mo's thin red lips curled up slightly. Listening to Kitty Lee's coquettish voice, a trace of playfulness flashed through his long and narrow eyes. "If you could bear to, you would have scratched me long ago. Up until now, you've only bitten me once. That's enough to prove, little wild cat, you can't bear to see me get hurt." Zhou Mo's low and hoarse voice carried a strong magnetism. He stifled a low chuckle. Beside the swaying black cat's ear, came his husky voice, "Little wild cat, you're feeling sorry for me." That warm breath made Kitty Lee's ears itch. His whole body actually felt a little weak. Her body trembled slightly as she avoided Zhou Mo's lips. Her face turned even redder as she said, What nonsense are you talking about? Kitty will not feel sorry for you." She was furious and struggled. But how could her strength be a match for Zhou Mo? However, her struggle only made Zhou Mo hold her even tighter. Kitty Lee's delicate little face was flushed red. She was angry, but also embarrassed. "You let go of me. You lecherous instructor." Kitty Lee gritted her teeth, her little claws desperately trying to pry open his hand. "Lustful." Zhou Mo raised his eyebrows, and a faint luster appeared in his eyes. He stared at the pink lips in front of him. His eyes flickered with a gloomy luster. He suddenly reached out and grabbed Kitty Lee's chin. His long and narrow eyes formed a charming and seductive arc. "I haven't done anything, and you're already saying that I'm lustful if I don't do anything. Won't I be letting down your good reputation?" Kitty Lee's black eyes suddenly widened, her face full of disbelief. Before she could react, a ball of warmth fell on Kitty Lee's lips. Zhou Mo's kiss was not very forceful. It was like a dragonfly touching the surface of the water. But there was a hint of inexplicable affection. Chapter 1548. You, Kitty Lee's eyes reddened from the kiss, and the hand that was beating his chest gradually lost its strength. Zhou Mo stared at the girl in his arms. The lips that were kissed swollen. The beautiful eyes that were half resentful, but clear and moist, were stained with a thin layer of mist. The blush on her cheeks was extremely alluring. His heart seemed to have been hit hard by something. He quietly stared at Kitty Lee's face, and his heart was in turmoil. For some reason, when he saw this little girl, he had an inexplicable urge to play with her. He also made a move. After being teased more and more, he actually fell in love with this feeling. This little wild cat of the orc race had a fatal attraction to him. This attraction came extremely suddenly. He himself did not understand what was the reason for this. When Kitty Lee raised her eyes with a blushing face and glared fiercely at the frivolous man who took advantage of her. But it crashed into his extremely deep and dark eyes that were glistening with flowing light. Maybe it was because of that kiss. His eyes were faintly flickering with an indistinct red glow. It made that handsome face look even more devilish. Kitty Lee's heart trembled. Her heart suddenly began to beat uncontrollably. She hurriedly lowered her eyes, not daring to look at Zhou Mo's eyes. She seemed to stare for another second. Her heart was about to jump out of her throat. She actually felt that this frivolous man was so good-looking. She had almost been hooked by the frivolous man's devilish appearance and had almost lost her soul and 7 spirits. No way. She absolutely could not be moved by this frivolous man's appearance. Kitty Lee kept warning herself in her heart. As a cat-beast princess of the orc race, she could not be moved by a human. Even if, in the cat-beast race, a female who was hugged and kissed by a male must stay together. But Zo-Mo was not a half-orc of the cat-beast race, Zo-Mo was a human. So this rule of the cat-beast race did not count. Kitty Lee tried hard to calm her mind, her arms began to struggle. Frivolous man, let go of Kitty. If you are angry, go find other female students. I'm sure those female students will be especially willing to serve you. You want me to find another woman? Zo-Mo's face darkened as he grabbed Kitty Lee's waist. For some reason, he felt that Kitty Lee's words were extremely harsh. Kitty Lee was frightened and shrank back. But her waist was being held very tightly. She had no way out. Pursing her red lips, she lowered her head. You. Why did you have to provoke Kitty? Yes, yours truly wants to provoke you. So what? Zo-Mo squinted his eyes and shot out a sharp, cold glare. His slender fingers lifted Kitty Lee's lower jaw forcefully. He forced her to look into his eyes. Her watery eyes were like the vast starry sky. There was even a hazy mist on it. The more he tolerated it, the more tenderness he felt for her. Chapter 1549. The corners of Zo-Mo's lips curled up. His mellow voice was extremely alluring. Little wild cat, if this young master hears any words that this young master doesn't like from your mouth again, this young master will use this young master's method to teach you a lesson. He narrowed his eyes and glanced meaningfully at her slightly swollen red lips. That gaze seemed to imply something. No matter how innocent Kitty Lee was, she understood. Her face instantly turned red, and she raised her fist and punched Zo-Mo's smirking face. You're shameless. Damn it. This lecherous instructor was simply too shameful, didn't he? Shameless lecherous instructor. Do you remember what I said? Zo-Mo held her little fist that was coming towards him. His large and thick palm held the small and delicate hand tightly. Kitty Lee did not answer, and wanted to use her other fist to hit him. However, under his deep and profound gaze, Yi Zichen's eyes were filled with deep meaning. Kitty Lee's hand that was in the air slowly dropped down. Her little face was white and red at the same time. Zo-Mo raised his eyebrows and smiled devilishly. He bent down, and his devilish face enlarged in Kitty Lee's eyes. That invasive gaze made Kitty Lee subconsciously cover her mouth. Zo-Mo could not help but laugh. He felt that it was quite interesting to tease this little wild cat once in a while. But, his words seemed to have scared the little wild cat. If she avoided him, it would be troublesome. Thinking of this, Zo-Mo did not forcefully attack again. Instead, he stretched out his other hand and used his slender fingers to play with the hair in front of Kitty Lee's forehead. His low and hoarse voice sounded in her ear. Little wild cat, let's stop here for today, in the future we will, before the last word, long, could be finished. Zo-Mo suddenly tightened his arm. Kitty Lee fell into his arms. Kitty Lee was shocked, and struggled in fear. Her little face was pale, thinking that Zo-Mo wanted to do something. But Zo-Mo's expression suddenly became serious, and his shimmering red phoenix eyes were like a keen cheetah, scanning the surroundings. As a beast man, Kitty Lee had a very strong sense. She immediately stopped struggling. What's wrong? There's someone here. Zo-Mo tightened his arms around her slender waist, and his body swayed. He had already disappeared into the night. Did you see anything? Zo-Mo lowered his head and asked the woman in his arms. Kitty Lee was a little stunned. Hearing Zo-Mo's reply, she hurriedly raised her eyes and looked ahead with the help of the feline race's night vision. All he could see was a dense forest. Not a single person was seen. Zhou saw that she did not speak for a long time, so he stopped chasing. A pair of sharp almond-shaped eyes swept the surroundings. After a while, he said in a low voice, "Let's go back first." Oh. Kitty Lee reacted and quickly nodded. Because of that unfamiliar aura, he was unable to chase after that figure. This caused Zhou to lose the desire to tease the cat. There were simply too many students at the outer perimeter of the fire nest. They must ensure the safety of every student. If an unknown person were to sneak into the flame nest at this time, they had to catch him before he revealed his intentions. He had to rush back and discuss this matter with Gue Wu. The two of them looked around again, and after confirming that nothing was out of the ordinary, they hurried back to the open space. In the depths of the forest. In the dark night, a slender figure gradually appeared. That figure seemed to have fused with the night. If one did not look carefully, they would not be able to see that there was someone there. The most shocking thing was, in the arms of that figure, there was a petite figure. The surrounding flames flickered. The figure in the arms of that person was vaguely revealed. That beautiful face that could make one's soul swoon. Chapter 1550. Deep into the night. The students were exhausted after the night run. How would they have the energy to fight for a bed with the other students? After running 5 laps, they received a water bag. The students fell onto the ground and fell into a deep sleep. Those students who had a bed returned to their own beds to sleep. But moments later, the entire raging flames lair fell into silence. Yiqing Luo looked at Kitty Lee, who was sleeping with her side facing her, her little hand still clutching her sleeve tightly. In her mind, she was thinking about what Kitty Lee told her when she came back. The outer perimeter of the raging flames lair, in the enchantment set up by the main elder. There were outsiders who didn't belong to the various academies. Moreover, that person sensed that he was discovered by Zhou Mo and immediately left. His speed was so fast that even Zhou Mo couldn't match up to him. Who could it be? Although Yiqing Luo had never experienced or seen Zhou Mo's ability. But she knew clearly that Zhou Mo was on good terms with Gue Wu. After all, he wasn't someone who could be underestimated. Zhou Mo couldn't even catch up to him. It could be seen how strong that outsider was. Could it be someone from the dark forces? She wondered if Gue Wu and Zhou Mo had come to a conclusion. Just as she was pondering, she suddenly heard a rustling sound not far away. Following that, she saw 2 people crawling up from the corner of the wooden shed. Taking advantage of the cover of the night, the 2 of them, one in front and one behind, quietly left the wooden shed. Yiqing Luo's night vision was not bad. She recognized the 2 of them at one glance. They were Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian. Her slender brows creased slightly. These 2. Why didn't they sleep properly in the middle of the night and wanted to leave like thieves? What were they trying to do? An ominous premonition arose from the bottom of her heart. She got up and was about to chase after them. Kitty Lee held her sleeves tightly. By the time Yiqing Luo carefully untied Kitty Lee's fingers, the 2 of them had long disappeared. Yiqing Luo looked at the direction where Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian had left and quietly chased after them. But she had increased her perception to the maximum. But she still didn't discover any figure. In a dark corner of the dense forest not far away, Zi Qianqian stopped under a fire tree under Su Xiaolian's lead. Zi Qianqian looked around and felt a chill run down his spine. There was a hair-raising atmosphere. Where is the person you're talking about? Zi Qianqian asked snappily. Su Xiaolian shook her head. She only told us to wait here. Zi Qianqian's expression immediately darkened. That person told us to wait here, so we have to wait here. His heart was filled with uncontrollable rage. What's in that brain of yours? You don't even know who the other party is, yet you believe him so easily. It was a waste of time for me to follow you here. Zi Qianqian flicked her sleeves and turned around, intending to go back the way she came. However, she turned around. Then he met a pair of, his eyes were as cold as ice. In the dark night, it was extremely horrifying. Zi Qianqian felt a chill run down her spine, and her delicate body immediately tensed up. In the night, a slender figure was faintly discernible. It was like a phantom, illusory and illusory. However, upon closer inspection, one could clearly see that person's figure. Zi Qianqian's heart trembled. She immediately took out the Tianling scepter and looked at that person vigilantly. But she heard Su Xiaolian's joyful voice from behind, "Miss, you're finally here." Chapter 1551. That person slowly walked out. In the dark night, he was faintly discernible, extremely unreal. But Zi Qianqian saw. In that person's arms was a petite figure. Under the weak firelight, Zi Qianqian could vaguely discern. That was a lady. It was an extremely beautiful woman who looked like a fairy. Zi Qianqian suddenly understood. The person who wanted to cooperate with her was not that person who looked like a shadow, but the lady in the shadow's arms. Indeed, she heard that lady's clear voice rang, "Miss C, I won't beat around the bush with you. Since you followed Miss Su here, it means that you have agreed to our cooperation." Zi Qianqian frowned as she looked at her vigilantly, not replying. The lady didn't mind as she continued, "Since we want to cooperate, then I will directly reveal my identity." She patted the shadow who was hugging her. The shadow moved and a weak ray of light was emitted from his chest. That was a small luminous pearl. The light revealed the lady's face, completely. "I am Feng Ling, Overlord's fiancé." Feng Ling's lips curled slightly as her eyes turned slightly cold. "Yi Qing Luo, that slut, whenever she sees a man, she would resort to all sorts of methods to seduce him. Now even my brother D has fallen into her trap." Mentioning this point, the expression on Feng Ling's face revealed some malevolence and hatred. This person. Zi Qianqian felt that she looked familiar. It seemed that they had met before at the West Lawn Square during the class confrontation. At that time, this lady called Feng Ling was the self-proclaimed fiancée of Dmo Xian. Zi Qianqian was able to get to where she was today. Naturally, she wasn't some ignorant person. Hearing Feng Ling's words, her brain turned and roughly guessed the enmity between Feng Ling and Yi Qing Luo. No matter if the fiancé, which Feng Ling mentioned, was true or false, Zi Qianqian could be completely rest assured. Because Feng Ling really loved Dmo Xian, she would definitely hate Yi Qing Luo who got Dmo Xian. This cooperation wasn't impossible. Moreover, Zi Qianqian could tell that Feng Ling was seriously injured. That was why she allowed the shadow to become her legs, bringing her around the flame lair. This injury. Zi Qianqian recalled that in the evening, when Yi Qing Luo and the rest returned, they were covered in blood. He could roughly guess it. Perhaps it was Yi Qing Luo, who had heard Feng Ling thinking of this. Zi Qianqian slightly narrowed his eyes and regained his usual noble and cold demeanor. "How confident is Miss Feng? If Miss C is willing to cooperate with us, I'm 100% sure." Feng Ling smiled mysteriously. Zi Qianqian raised her brows. So confident. Of course. A hint of madness and infatuation shone in Wind Chime's eyes. "To get Brother D back, I can sacrifice everything." Women who went crazy for love were the most terrifying. Zi Qianqian naturally understood this feeling. She pondered for a moment, clenched her fists, and smiled arrogantly. "All right, I agree to cooperate with you." In the darkness, no one could see. Wisps of black aura lingered above their heads, not dissipating for a long time. The second half of the night. Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaoyan returned to the wooden shed. There was a smile on their faces. It was clear that he was chatting happily with wind chimes. However, their smiles soon froze on their faces. The light from the fire elongated the silhouettes standing outside the wooden shed. Yiqing Luo crossed her arms in front of her chest, leaning against the tree. Her green and white uniform, under the illumination of the fire, was dyed red. That black hair which was casually scattered on her shoulders, fluttered freely. Chapter 1552. Zi Qianqian's voice became hoarse. He opened his mouth and spat out a single word. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up slightly as her charming eyes curved into a narrow arc. The two students have been working hard for the entire day and not sleeping in the middle of the night. Where did you go? She had a warm smile on her face as if she was just having a casual chat. His eyes, which were as bright as torches, locked onto the two people in front of him. Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaoyan felt like they had nowhere to hide. Seeing that the two of them did not reply, Yiqing Luo walked straight towards the two of them. Perhaps they had just discussed how to kill Yiqing Luo. Zi Qianqian felt a little guilty. Instinctively, he took a few steps back. Until Su Xiaoyan ruthlessly grabbed her arm from behind. Only then did Zi Qianqian regain her senses. We are just going to the toilet. Why is student Yiqing Luo also going to the toilet? Zi Qianqian took a deep breath and steadied her mind. Yiqing Luo replied with a meaningful "oh," as her charming eyes kept sweeping across Zi Qianqian's body. Student Zi Qianqian and student Su Xiaoyan are indeed as close as sisters. Even when going to the toilet they are inseparable. Both of their faces paled. Zi Qianqian immediately slapped Su Xiaoyan's hand away and glared at Su Xiaoyan in disgust. If there's nothing else, I'm going to rest. Saying that, Zi Qianqian walked past Yiqing Luo and headed towards his own bed. Yiqing Luo didn't stop her. He just turned around and faced Zi Qianqian's direction, smiling calmly. Student Zi Qianqian, did you meet some strange people when you were going to the toilet? Why do I feel like... Yiqing Luo had yet to finish her words. Zi Qianqian's body stiffened. But very quickly, she pretended not to hear Yiqing Luo's words as she calmly walked to her own bed and laid down. Yiqing Luo's vision seemed to be looking towards Zi Qianqian's direction. In fact, she had been paying attention to Su Xiaoyan, who was behind her, out of the corner of her eye. After hearing her words, Su Xiaoyan subconsciously raised her arms and smelled the scent on her body. Yiqing Luo's heart sank. It seemed that her guess was correct. These two people must have met someone in the night. The people they saw were from the dark forces, or was it that during this training, they wanted to deal with her, deal with the devil class? After all, the bird that sticks out gets shot. Their devil class had indeed attracted the disgust of the students from the various academies due to their high profile. If Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaoyan were really going to meet the students from the other academies, then they would be able to see the students from the other academies. Yiqing Luo didn't put it to heart. In her eyes, the students' tricks were just child's play. What he was afraid of, the two of them had been targeted by the dark forces. The target of the dark forces was all the students here. If these two were to help the dark forces, I'm afraid that would be dangerous. Seeing that Yiqing Luo didn't speak for a long time, Su Xiaoyan didn't dare to speak to her. He shuffled past Yiqing Luo's side timidly. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about the both of them as she returned to her own bed. Perhaps it was because the day was too tiring. At this moment, not a single student had woken up. A moment later, the entire wooden shed fell silent once again. The next day. It was 5:00 in the morning. The two instructors used their profound qi to shout at all the students. 2 incenses worth of time to wash up. All the students rushed towards the open space to gather. These students were exhausted and their bodies were sore. They had only slept for less than 4 hours when they were woken up. Chapter 1553. However, these students had no way to resist. If they didn't listen to the instructor's arrangements and orders, if they didn't agree, they would reject the water bags and 3 meals. In this kind of ghastly place, not eating or drinking, that would absolutely kill them. Of course, the instructors wouldn't really let them die. But the instructors would use their own methods to let them experience the feeling of living a life worse than death. As usual, by the time they reached the empty space, Devil class's students had already lined up neatly. The curtains of a day's training had just begun. On this day, other than the other academy's students who occasionally said some sour and sarcastic words, it was a very peaceful life for him. Nothing major had happened. During the training process, Zomo had taken the opportunity to lay his hands on Kitty Lee, causing the both of them to fight so hard that the sky and earth were turned upside down. Today, indeed, nothing major had happened. Yiqing Luo also took the opportunity to tell Gue Wu about Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian's matters last night. Just like that. Days passed one after another, and just like that, 4 days had passed. What Yiqing Luo was worried about had not happened. On the 5th day, most of the students were already used to this kind of training mode. They could clearly feel that their physical strength had a huge increase. And it was precisely because of this. The instructors then divided them into groups according to the academies, to carry out the chasing battle between the academies. A few instructors gave each academy's representative a space pocket which was pasted with Gue Wu's logo, which could be monitored by Gue Wu at any time. According to the recent performance, the one who received the space pocket from Heavenly Academy was Yiqing Luo. The instructors divided the students into groups according to the academies, dispersing them at various corners of the blazing flame nest. The range, naturally, was within the boundary. After the various academies' students were dispersed, Instructor Li's energetic voice then rang in midair. Next, Master Gue Wu will release the magical beasts which he reared, into the outer perimeter of the blazing flame nest. Magical beasts? The students instantly went into an uproar. These demonic beasts do not have physical bodies. However, they possess absolute destructive power. If one were to be careless, they would be seriously injured at the very least. In the worst case, they would lose their lives. During this process, none of the supervisors will interfere in the slightest. So, if you want to live, then try your best to kill the magical beasts. Once you kill a magical beast, the magical beast will turn into a magic crystal. Put the magic crystal into your space pocket and you'll get 1 point. Chapter 1554. They had to admit that Master Gue Wu was simply too sinister. But now, they were standing in the flame lair. They had to listen to Gue Wu's orders. The students of the various academies stood in their original positions, waiting for the next instruction from the instructors. At the wooden shed, 4 instructors stood behind Gue Wu and Zomo. In front of them, there was a piece of white jade about the size of a tree. The surface of the stone was extremely bright, as though there was water flowing. This is the mystic light mirror. Instructor Ren recognized what this white jade was with one look, and the expression on his face became extremely astonished. The mystic light mirror had the same function as the modern screen. It could display the scene that they wanted to monitor. Just like now. Gue Wu swept his sleeves, and the speed of the water flowing on the white jade became faster and faster. In a split second, the scene of the students of the various academies was revealed. Although the scene was not very clear, but it could still be seen clearly. Even the slightest sound could be heard very clearly. Of course, the mystic light mirror was not able to monitor everything in the world. To be able to appear in the mystic light mirror, there must be a medium. This medium was the mystic light mirror Chi. Just now, Gue Wu handed the space pockets to every student, and it was filled with the mystic light mirror Chi. Because of this, Gue Wu and the rest could observe the movements of every academy through this mystic light mirror. In the mystic light mirror, the students of the various academies were complaining incessantly. There were also some students who thought that there were no outsiders around, and directly blamed each other for Gue Wu's brutality. When this scene appeared on the mystic light mirror, a few instructors' faces changed. "Ah Wu, why are you looking at these trash? Look at the Heavenly Academy." Zhou Mo hooked his arm around Gue Wu's shoulder, his phoenix eyes slightly narrowed, and a face of impatience swept across the students in the mystic light mirror. The other instructors nodded in agreement. The performance of the Heavenly Academy's devil class had always been very good. They did not know if they could maintain the same dazzling results during individual training. Gue Wu was expressionless, and swept his sleeves. On the mystic light mirror, the scene of the Heavenly Academy appeared. Different from the students of the other academies. Once the devil class students were sent to this corner, they began to look around the surroundings. He formed a map of the surrounding routes in his mind. The other elite students of the Heavenly Academy all looked at them as though they were looking at a bunch of fools. They could not hide the ridicule in their eyes as they looked at the dozens of people scurrying around. A good-for-nothing class is a good-for-nothing class. Other than stealing the limelight in the physical training that doesn't require the use of brains, everything else is just good for nothing. Su Xiaoyan mocked sarcastically. The other students immediately chimed in. "Devil class, we are now representing the academy to compete in actual combat. All of you better listen to Goddess Qianqian's words obediently and don't drag us down." "Exactly. You people who don't know anything should just follow behind us. What if you run around and attract other magical beasts? Also, hand over your interspatial pocket. You're not qualified to lead us. Hurry up and hand over the space pocket to Goddess Qianqian." These elite students had been ridiculed by the students from other academies for the past few days under the halo of the devil class. Now, he finally had the chance to humiliate them. Naturally, he would not let go of this opportunity. However, no matter how noisy they were, devil class's students had no intention of bothering about them. Chapter 1555. The elite students were so angry that their faces turned red. To be ignored by a group of students who had been trash for so many years. Immediately, a proud and arrogant intermediate profound class 2 student could not take it anymore. He walked forward and grabbed onto one of the devil class students who was running around. "Hey! Trash, we're talking to you, did you hear?" Before the last word could be said, that devil class student turned his head over. This was a youth who was about 16 or 17 years old. He looked handsome, but his eyes were cold. For a moment, it made the intermediate profound class 2 student stunned. This devil class student was really better looking than the other, and more handsome than the other. "Let go." A clear voice, with a hint of displeasure. The intermediate profound class 2 student instinctively let go. He even retreated a few steps in panic. When he realized that his reaction was too intense, the intermediate profound class 2 student steadied his footsteps. You trash, based on." Before he could finish, the devil class youth, that furious gaze, made the intermediate profound class 2 student's words, all stuck in his throat, unable to spit it out. "Lianqing, don't be in a daze." Not far away, the devil class student called out. Baiming Lianqing responded, and chased after the direction of that student. The intermediate profound class 2 students looked at the direction that Baiming Lianqing left in a daze. There was an inexplicable feeling in his heart, slowly spreading. Why? Any random student from devil class could have such an imposing manner. Just now, in that moment, he really felt that he was about to be killed by the devil class students. He was so afraid, both his legs were trembling. He was after all a high profound class 2 student. He was once regarded as an elite, a student with a bunch of fangirls. But when facing the devil class students, until now, his legs and stomach were still trembling. The devil class students had really been reborn in the wooden shed. A few instructors stared at the behavior of the devil class students, and then looked at the other students who were hailed as elites, and clicked their tongues. They're obviously from the same academy. Why is it that one is in the sky, the other on the ground? I really don't know how the Heavenly Academy teaches its students. From what I know, the students of the devil class have been released by the Heavenly Academy for a full 5 years. Zo-mo squinted his phoenix eyes as he stared at the images in the profound light mirror. 5 years. How could he be so powerful? Instructor Luo turned to look at Zo-mo in surprise. This is clearly a well-trained team. How could it have been left to roam for 5 years? The other instructors were also in disbelief. These few days, the devil class's training was like a sharp army. Regardless of any orders or missions, all of them could be accomplished excellently. Just now, he had placed them in the most remote corner of the fire lair, the furthest away from the wooden shed. They did not panic at all. Instead, he took the initiative to observe his surroundings. This was definitely not a free-range team. They were definitely not a team that was undergoing field training for the first time. So to say, the excellence of the devil class has something to do with the Heavenly Academy's features. Zo-mo rubbed his chin in interest. The rise of the devil class students should be after this student Yi-Ching Luo joined. Then the brilliance of the devil class slowly revealed itself. Chapter 1556. The Dean of the Heavenly Academy does not have the ability to manage the academy. Gue Wu, who had been silently listening to them, suddenly spoke. The few of them immediately stopped talking and listened respectfully to Gue Wu's words. If it wasn't for that madman, the Dean of the Heavenly Academy would not be this trash's turn. Gue Wu's tone was obviously full of ridicule and contempt. Especially when he mentioned the word madman, there was a sense of gnashing his teeth. The few instructors looked at each other. One must know that Gue Wu had always been calm and indifferent, as if he did not care about anything. Now, it was rare to hear Gue Wu say such emotional words. They could not help but speculate in their hearts. What kind of person was the madman, in Gue Wu's words? Under the attention of the few instructors, Gue Wu realized that his reaction was too big. His sinister eyes suddenly narrowed and his voice sank. All right, release the magical beasts. The few instructors wanted to continue gossiping. But the target of the gossip was Master Gue Wu. Now Master Gue Wu's face was overcast and extremely horrifying. Gossip and fate, of course they chose fate. Hence, the few of them scrambled to take out the interspatial bags that contained the souls of the magical beasts that they had prepared in advance. They went in all directions and began to release the souls of the magical beasts. Magical beast souls. As the name suggests, it was the soul of the magical beasts. This was a common trick used by the instructors of the various academies and sects to train their disciples. After hunting the magical beasts, they would use the magical beast's flesh and soul to refine it into a soul. This kind of soul, unless the person who refined it wanted to. Basically, it was immortal. Simply put, it was these magical beast souls that were placed in the flame lair to fight with the students. The soul had its own magical beast form and could also harm people's lives. If their sharp claws and teeth touched the students, they could also scratch the student's skin. And after the students killed the magical beast's souls, the magical beast's souls would turn into magic crystals. These magic crystals would then return to the hands of the person who refined it, and after another round of refining, it could become the magical beast's souls again. Now, 5,000 magical beasts have been released into the surroundings of the blazing lair. I'll give you 1 day and 1 night to compete. During this period of time, we will not have any contact with you. Even if it is a matter of life and death, we will not appear to help you. Of course, the situation of your elimination will be reported to the elders of the main academy. Now, it's time that belongs to you. I hereby announce that the competition between the schools has officially begun. Several drill masters took turns to speak. At the last command, the entire outer perimeter of the fire lair shook. After that, the surroundings fell into deathly silence. The students who were scattered in every corner suddenly panicked. 5,000 magical beasts. What did this mean? Are the instructors sure they're not joking? There were at most 200 students in their class. Adding up all the students, there were only about 1,600 people. Even if they united, it was impossible for them to defeat 5,000 magical beasts. Some students even tried to discuss with the instructors. But after shouting for a long time, he did not get any response from the instructors. On the contrary, he had even lured out the demonic beasts. The group of students once again fought against the demonic beasts in a flurry. Qing Luo, are we going to hunt for the demonic beasts now? Yan Xiaoyi heard the instructor's conversation in mid-air as she turned her head to look at Yi Qing Luo. The other students also immediately set their sights on Yi Qing Luo, waiting for Yi Qing Luo's decision. Not knowing when. Chapter 1557. Yi Qing Luo pondered for a moment, rubbed her chin and nodded. 1 day and 1 night, 5,000 magical beasts. That also means that we can at least get 2,500 magic crystals to achieve victory, so we really cannot waste the time we have now. Heavenly Academy's elite students stared at Yi Qing Luo as though they were looking at a fool. 2,500 magic crystals? Was Yi Qing Luo joking? This joke was even more ridiculous than Master Ghost Marshall's joke. The academies that entered the blazing flame nest this time round were left with 23 or 4 academies. Why would they need to get 2,500 magic crystals to achieve victory? If they could get 1,000 magic crystals, it would be a sure win, all right. Let's go, let's find the magical beasts first. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand and walked towards the direction where the sound was the strongest. Devil class's students followed closely behind. Seeing that devil class had left, the other elite students looked at Zi Qianshan. Goddess Qianshan, should we follow up now? Follow. Zi Qianshan gave a cold snort. This is an academy competition, not an individual competition. We must be united. Since devil class wants to be the leader of Heavenly Academy, then let her be. Saying that, she took the lead and followed the direction of devil class. The other students immediately followed up. No one discovered anything. At the moment when Zi Qianshan followed up, a faintly discernible sinister smile appeared in her eyes. She laughed coldly in her heart. Today was the day when Yi Qing Luo would meet her end. Yi Qing Luo wanted to show off. Then let her show off one last time before she died. Perhaps it was because the corner they were allocated to was too secluded. Along the way, the group met 10 over low-leveled magical beasts. After walking for about 2 hours, they only managed to get 13 magic crystals. I can't take it anymore, I'm dead tired. What kind of place is this, making us stay for a day and night, and not giving us any water bags or anything? The elite students were in an irritable mood as they walked, directly plopping down on a rock by the side. The other elite students also stopped. Let's take a rest first, the temperature here is too high. Devil class's students frowned. looking at this group of pampered elite students, their eyes were filled with disgust and contempt. 2 hours passed. They only had 13 magic crystals. He didn't know how many magic crystals he had fallen behind the other classes. These people are still holding us back. These days of physical training had improved the physical fitness of these elite students by quite a bit. Not to mention walking for 2 hours. They had to walk for another 2 hours. These elite students could also endure it. Furthermore, from the beginning to the end, these so-called elite students did not make a move when they encountered the magical beasts. All of them were the students of the devil class charging in front. They weren't tired yet. These elite students actually said that they were tired. What about their faces? Oh no, they had forgotten that these people were faceless. Asking this question was already praising them. Zi Qianqian had already found a clean spot to sit on. She was surrounded by a few male students. This posture was like a myriad of stars surrounding the moon. Student Yi Qing Luo, that student is right. Master Gue Wu asked us to stay in the blazing flame nest for an entire day and night, so it's impossible that he didn't prepare any water bags, dry rations and other things for us. The corners of Zi Qianqian's lips curled up slightly. After all, we are just mortal bodies. It's impossible for us to stay here for an entire day without eating or drinking. Chapter 1558. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as her lips curled into a smile which didn't look like a smile. So, what does student Zi Qianqian want to express? Zi Qianqian's expression froze. Everyone knew the deeper meaning behind her words. They were suspecting if Yi Qing Luo had pocketed the water bags and dry rations which Master Gue Wu had prepared for everyone. If not, Yi Qing Luo should be rebutting aggressively. And she could also take the opportunity to let this elite student completely believe that Yi Qing Luo had pocketed their food. If it was true, she had a way to make Yi Qing Luo spit out everything. Not only did he want Yi Qing Luo to suffer the exclusion of the elite students, he also wanted the devil class's students to recognize her true colors. But Yi Qing Luo neither admitted nor denied it, and even threw the question back. Her expression sunk as she might as well shed all pretenses of cordiality as well. Her lips curled into an arrogant smile as she stood up, attempting to use her imposing manner to oppress Yi Qing Luo. Student Yi Qing Luo, are you sure that Master Gue Wu didn't give us enough food to fill our stomachs for a day and a night? However, no matter how strong her aura was, it would not be able to withstand it. No matter how high and mighty his arrogance was. But the person he was facing was Yi Qing Luo. He easily suppressed Zi Qianqian's arrogance. Furthermore, he had suppressed Zi Qianqian to the point where he had nowhere to hide. And Master Gue Wu had indeed prepared food for us. Yi Qing Luo calmly nodded her head as her brows rose, so. Zi Qianqian's expression froze. This Yi Qing Luo, why didn't she play her cards according to the routine? How could he answer so calmly? Zi Qianqian didn't reply, but the elite students behind her couldn't bear it anymore. Since you prepared food for us, why didn't you take it out? Are you trying to take all our food for yourself? Yeah. If Goddess Qianqian didn't tell us about this, are you still trying to hide it from us? Yi Qing Luo. You're such a vicious bitch. How dare you take our food for yourself? Yi Qing Luo picked her ears. How did these students enter High Profound Class 2 in the first place? This was supposed to be the elite class. Were they all geniuses? Why did she feel that the so-called elite class? What if it was actually a gathering place for idiots? She hadn't said anything, hadn't done anything. She was inexplicably labeled as a vicious bitch. If they didn't take their food for themselves. He felt a little sorry for the good reputation that they had given him. After the time it took for a stick of incense to burn, he continued to berate. The students' mouths were dry. There was a burning sensation in his throat. Then they stopped. He covered his throat and coughed desperately. However, the group of people who were being reprimanded were leisurely sitting at the side with their eyes closed. He completely ignored their eloquent speech. The students whose throats were on fire almost exploded. Seeing that they had quietened down, Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she squinted at them with a smile which didn't look like a smile. "Oh? Are you done?" The students didn't want to answer anymore. Yiqing Luo's lips curled. "Since you're done, let's continue on our way." F***ck. They had said so much, but she didn't have anything to say. Or, did he not have anything to explain? Or hand over their food? Their inner screams, to Yiqing Luo, were of no use. After Yiqing Luo threw this sentence, she directly stood up and led the devil class's students towards the deep end of the dense forest. The elite students were so infuriated that their hearts were in pain. Damn it, this vicious bitch was shameless. Chapter 1559. Goddess Qianqian, what should we do? Su Xiaoyan turned to Zi Qianqian and asked through gritted teeth. The other students also turned their gazes over. Zi Qianqian immediately adjusted the ferocious expression on his face. He took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Our food is in her hands. We must follow them closely. The other students nodded in agreement. Now that things had come to this, they had no choice but to follow Yiqing Luo. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a big deal if they didn't have any rations to fill their stomachs in this damned place. The key was if there was no water. They would definitely die of dehydration. They didn't believe that the group of people in devil class didn't know how to eat and drink. As long as the devil class dared to drink water and eat rations, they dared to rob it. With this thought in mind, the group of elite students gritted their teeth and followed closely behind. Yiqing Luo's ears twitched as she heard the voice behind her and sneered. Tong Ziqing took a look behind her and leaned towards Yiqing Luo as she asked in a low voice, "Master Gui Wu really prepared food for us?" "Yes." Yiqing Luo nodded. "There are water bags and dry rations in the space pocket. According to the number of students in the Heavenly Academy, each person gets 2 water bags and 1 bag of dry rations." She paused and looked at Tong Ziqing's back. "Do you need to rest?" The wound on Tong Ziqing's back had already healed. Just as Yiqing Luo had guessed, there was a large burn wound on her back, which was extremely horrifying. It was Yiqing Luo who applied the skin beautifying dew on Tong Ziqing. There was no way to get rid of this burn. Even a small scar was a disgrace to a woman. Not to mention the terrifying burn that covered almost half of his back. "No, I'm not that weak." Tong Ziqing smiled. When the injury on her back was mentioned, her expression did not change in the slightest. For her, this was an injury for Long Yunzhan. She did not regret it. Even if there were scars, it didn't matter. Because this was the only thing Long Yunzhan had left for her. Yiqing Luo took a deep look at Tong Ziqing and didn't say anything else. The group of people did not say a word and continued to move forward in silence. Those elite students at the back would initially curse devil class and Yiqing Luo. Even if he saw a magical beast, he would definitely not lend a helping hand. But as they scolded, the devil class totally had no intention of bothering about them. Instead, their mouths and tongues became parched, and they used up a lot of energy. Because of the food, no matter how tired they were, they couldn't stop and rest like before. After a long time, the grievances in these elite students' hearts had been transferred onto Zi Qianqian, who had just exposed Yiqing Luo's embezzlement of food. If he didn't say it, they could still confront the devil class. But now that he had said it, they were under the control of the devil class. He could feel the enmity in the eyes of the elite students who had been fawning over him. The rage in Zi Qianqian's heart surged. A little impatience will spoil great plans. Su Xiaolian held her hand. She's going to die soon, so let her be arrogant one last time. Zi Qianqian shook off Su Xiaolian's hand angrily. However, he still suppressed his anger. Suddenly, the devil class students in front stopped in their tracks. One by one, they found a clean spot and sat down to rest. These elite students were wild with joy and gathered all their energy to follow. A pair of eyes looked towards Yiqing Luo with hope. No matter how strong a person was, he would also bow down for a bucket of rice. These elite students, no matter how arrogant they usually were. Right now, in order to drink a mouthful of water and eat a mouthful of dry rations. Chapter 1560. Yiqing Luo sneered coldly in her heart. But she acted as though she didn't understand the elite students' offensive gaze. She faced the devil class students and spoke calmly. Everyone take a break for half an hour, drink some water and replenish your energy. The elite students were delighted. Just as they were about to open their mouths to let Yiqing Luo share their portion of food with them, the students from the devil class took out their own space pockets and took out their water bags from within. There were quite a number of devil class students who could even take out some fragrant pastries. What was going on? The elite students were stunned on the spot. They followed the devil class all the way. Naturally, they knew that Yiqing Luo had never given any water bags or food to the other students. The water bags and those pastries on the devil class's students, were they all prepared by themselves? How could this be possible? After 5 days of training, every student only had 2 bags of water daily, and the food they ate were those hard-to-swallow things. How could the devil class students have extra water? How could there be sweet and delicious pastries? Make the best use of our time, we need to find the direction of the beast tide. If we're still lagging behind, then we can only snatch the other academy's magic crystals. Yiqing Luo's voice sounded like it was a light breeze. As though snatching the other academy's crystals was the most normal thing, and it was an extremely easy thing to do. The devil class students responded in unison. They then started to eat the pastries, eat the dry rations and drink the water in an unhurried manner. Their eating was called elegant. Eating was like a piece of art. It made the elite students drool as their stomachs kept growling non-stop. They stood not too far away from Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo only needed to raise her eyes slightly and she could see them. But Yiqing Luo seemed as though she couldn't see their figures from the start. Apparently, she intentionally ignored them. The elite students simply couldn't endure this alluring fragrance. Especially their throats were so dry that they were about to burst into flames. One of the elite students took the initiative to walk towards Yiqing Luo with a fawning smile. "Student Yi, to snatch the other academy's magic crystals, you will definitely need our help. We will also do our part for the academy's glory." Yiqing Luo nodded. At the same time, he took out a bright red fruit from the profound phoenix ring and bit into it with a loud crunch. The elite student's words were forcefully stuck in his throat. The elite student stuttered. Zi Qianqian's expression sunk as he walked forward and pushed that elite student aside as he spoke coldly. "Yiqing Luo, the reason why Master Gui Wu passed the food to you was not for you to avenge your personal grudges. If you have a problem with me, just come at me. Why do you have to deliberately torture other innocent students?" It was the image he had built up over the years. It was completely destroyed by Yiqing Luo. Zi Qianqian had to think of a way to regain her image as a goddess. His words were spoken in a righteous manner. "Goddess Qian." Su Xiaolian cooperated and pulled Zi Qianqian's arm. "With Yiqing Luo's character, it's impossible for her to give us the food. Why do you have to do this?" Chapter 1561. Zi Qianqian knew that Yi Qing Luo was most concerned about her group of brothers. She couldn't find a breakthrough point from Yi Qing Luo. Then she would find it from those brothers of hers. As long as it involved those brothers of hers, Yi Qing Luo would have to compromise. Indeed, Zi Qianqian saw Yi Qing Luo's expression turning grave. She laughed coldly in her heart. Such superfluous feelings were simply a stumbling block to her advancement. Just as Zi Qianqian was feeling complacent, thinking that her threat had worked. But she saw Yi Qing Luo standing up and walking straight towards Zi Qianqian. That oppressive aura covered the sky and earth as it pressed down. Zi Qianqian felt her shoulders sinking, as if there was an invisible mountain pressing down on her. She didn't even dare to look at Yi Qing Luo's eyes. Yi Qing Luo's expression had indeed changed. But it wasn't because she feared Zi Qianqian. It was because Zi Qianqian used the devil class's students to threaten her. No matter how Zi Qianqian usually caused trouble or provoked her, she only treated it as a monkey show. She didn't want to waste time and bother about Zi Qianqian. But if it touched her bottom line. Yi Qing Luo's eyes flashed with an extremely chilly intent as her pink lips curled. Zi Qianqian was so shocked that she took a few steps back. That delicate and beautiful face revealed a horrified expression. Goddess Qianqian. Su Xiaoyan immediately supported Zi Qianqian from behind, preventing her from falling. Zi Qianqian seemed to have lost her soul as she stared blankly at Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo's smile was like a mandala flower from hell, emitting a fatal temptation. Zi Qianqian felt. Yi Qing Luo's gaze fell onto her. As if there was an invisible icy cold big hand, tightly strangling her neck. Her heart thumped loudly. Inexplicably feeling suffocated. Yi Qing Luo took another step forward, getting closer to Zi Qianqian. Zi Qianqian wanted to retreat. But her collar was directly grabbed by Yi Qing Luo. With a little strength, Zi Qianqian's body was violently pulled towards Yi Qing Luo. The distance between them was pulled closer as their eyes met. At such a close distance, Zi Qianqian's entire body shivered, as it became more obvious. Zi Qianqian's eyes were filled with unconcealable fear. She opened her mouth, wanting to speak. The suffocating feeling in her throat made her unable to spit out a single word. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were filled with contempt and ridicule. Zi Qianqian's face was filled with fear. Following that, Yi Qing Luo slowly lowered her body. Her pink lips moved closer to Zi Qianqian's ear, and she said slowly, "Nowadays, 5-year-old children don't even think of complaining to their parents when they get into a fight. Who would have thought that the rumored #1 beauty of class of God, Zi Qianqian, can't even compare to a 5-year-old child?" She sneered disdainfully, and the disdain in her eyes deepened. "Then, go ahead and sue." As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Qing Luo's arms suddenly exerted strength. Zi Qianqian's body was originally stiff from Yi Qing Luo's strong imposing manner. There was no time to react at all. His body suddenly staggered, lost his balance, and fell backwards. Bang! There was the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground. Zi Qianqian fell heavily onto the ground. She let out a blood-curdling scream as several scars appeared on her delicate skin. Goddess Qianqian. The elite students behind her rushed over in a panic and hurriedly helped Zi Qianqian up from the ground. Chapter 1562. That's right. Student Yi Qing Luo, no matter what, we are fellow students from the same academy. Now is the critical moment of the academy's competition. By doing this, you're totally disregarding the Heavenly Academy and Ghost Martial Master. The other elite students who had been chasing after Zi Qianqian also chimed in. There was a small portion of them who maintained a wait-and-see attitude, not saying a single word. Hurriedly rebuking and cursing. Yiqing Luo's expression remained unchanged. She just stood there proudly. A pair of charming eyes, without any emotions. One by one, she swept past those students who hooted the most fiercest. Why didn't you say that you're Heavenly Academy's students when we were hunting the magical beasts? When the magic crystal score was lagging behind, why didn't you think that you're Heavenly Academy's students and work hard to get the magic crystal? Instead, time and time again, delaying the team's progress. At this moment, why didn't you say that you're Heavenly Academy's students? Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with contempt. She disdainfully glanced at Ziqianqian. If I were you, I would choose to save some energy and not waste time and energy to argue with me. Saying that, Yiqing Luo directly turned around and returned to her own seat. The fruits in her hands were crunching noisily. This sound agitated the elite students as their faces turned green and white. Indeed, if they wasted any more energy, they would directly die of thirst in this godforsaken place. Yiqing Luo obviously had no intention to take out the portion of food which belonged to them. If they didn't think of a way to find food and drink, they would definitely die here. Hence, the elite students couldn't be bothered to beg Yiqing Luo. One by one, they supported Ziqianqian and stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo, just you wait. After leaving a vicious sentence, the group of them then mustered their last bit of energy and walked towards another direction. But not all the elite students followed them. At this moment, there were 10 over elite students who stared at the group of students who left with hesitation. After hesitating for a moment, they followed a few more people. Finally, there were 13 people who stood at the original spot. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as her vision fell onto those 13 people. In the end, he fixed his gaze on the two most eye-catching people among the 13. A trace of astonishment flashed past Yiqing Luo's eyes. Yiqing Luo wasn't unfamiliar with these two people. It was Qi Yijing and Dong Huanglang from High Profound Class 1. In this period of time, Devil Class and these two people did not have much interaction. At most, they would greet each other. Non-interference. It could be said that during this period of time, Ziqianqian's group of elite students and the Devil Class were in a heated argument. Both of them looked as if they were watching a show. For some unknown reason, Ziqianqian did not focus his fire on the two of them. At this juncture, when Yiqing Luo saw these two people, she was rather shocked. There were a few others who were also High Profound Class 1 students. There were also a few students from Low Profound Class 2. Qi Yijing and Dong Huanglang were very familiar with each other. Especially Dong Huanglang, who hooked his arm around Qi Yijing's shoulder and waved his hand. Student Yiqing Luo, I brought my Jing to seek refuge with you. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes and focused on the word, my home. These two people. Could it be that they have developed into that kind of relationship? This word, my home, was really broad and profound. On the other hand, the other 10 over students stood on the spot uneasily. Chapter 1563. Yiqing Luo didn't say any unnecessary nonsense. She directly retrieved the water bags from her space pocket and threw them towards the direction of those students. The students received the water bags in a fluster. When they saw that the things in their hands were actually water bags, they stared blankly at the water bags in their hands in a daze. Yiqing Luo actually distributed the water bags to them. Although during this period of time, they had never followed Ziqianqian and that bunch of students to do anything to harm Devil Class. But they had never helped Devil Class when they were bullied by Ziqianqian and the other elite students. They had always been following behind Ziqianqian and that bunch of students. Even if Yiqing Luo chased them away now, that was something to be expected. But Yiqing Luo didn't say a word as she took out her water bag. In the blazing flame nest, water was the most precious thing. Immediately following that, Yiqing Luo took out 10 sets of dry rations and asked the students beside her to send it over to them. 1 hand of dry rations. 1 hand of water bag. The 10 students were feeling extremely complicated. There were 3 female students whose eyes turned red immediately. All of them were filled with gratitude, wishing that they could do anything for Yiqing Luo. All the devil class students had the same thought in their hearts at this moment. Other than speechlessness, what else could they say? Are these students stupid? These water bags and food, they originally had a share. What they were getting now, was the share of food that they deserved. To be so moved to tears. What was she trying to do? They gave a thumbs up to Yiqing Luo's way of subtly buying people's hearts. Boss's tricks were too deep. They had witnessed it. Facing their own brothers, those disdainful, supercilious eyes. Yiqing Luo spread out her hands and shrugged her shoulders. These few students were just so innocent, what else could she do? After eating and drinking their fill, the group set off once again. This time, without that bunch of noisy intermediate profound class 2 students who were dragging them down. Their efficiency and speed had increased by a lot. Not long later, they left that secluded corner and met magical beasts one after another. Until evening time, devil class and the rest had already obtained close to 300 magic crystals. The last 10 students had once again refreshed their understanding of devil class. This group of people were simply too powerful. He could deal with a magical beast in minutes. Those magical beasts were like cabbages in their hands. Every slash was accurate. They rejoiced. He cleverly chose to follow the devil class. Otherwise, he would leave with Zi Qianqian's group of students. They would probably die on the way. After Yiqing Luo finished calculating the magic crystals that she had obtained, she took a look at the sky and said, "Let's find a safe place to rest first. Even if it's a mission or a competition, we need to replenish our energy and maintain our best condition." The devil class students replied in unison, "Yes." After walking for about the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn. Not far ahead, the group saw a relatively clean piece of land. There were also many smooth stones around. Yiqing Luo felt that she should rest there. The group walked over and found a place to sit down. Yiqing Luo discovered that there were quite a number of empty water bags lying on the ground near this open space. It was obvious that students from other academies had come here to rest not long ago. There were no other students around. Yiqing Luo didn't think too much about it. After eating and drinking, Yiqing Luo asked everyone to take a short nap. Chapter 1564. Everyone quivered as they instantly regained their senses. They were indeed tired. So tired that they could fall asleep the moment they laid down on the bed, the kind of tiredness that even thunder wouldn't wake them up. But unfortunately, that cheering sound was extremely sharp and piercing to the ear. It was even more terrifying than thunder. Devil classes students without exception, all of them sat up amidst that cheering sound. Wow! Brother Tsang Tian, I indeed didn't hear wrongly. The lady was jumping with joy, as though she was asking for credit. Yiqing Luo frowned. Why does this voice sound so familiar? Could it be? Yiqing Luo had a bad premonition. Just as she was thinking carefully, Kitty Li leaned over and hooked her arm. Sister, Kitty Li heard it too. Heard what? Yiqing Luo roughly understood from the content of that lady's cheering. The woman seemed to have heard something and followed the sound. Then, she found something that made them happy. Kitty Li's ears were sensitive as the headscarf on her head shook. It's the sound of flowing water. Flowing water sound. No wonder those students were so excited. The most precious thing in the blazing flame nest was water. But how could there be flowing water in the blazing flame nest? Yi-Ching Luo frowned as she gently rubbed Kitty Lee's head. Are you sure you didn't hear wrongly? Kitty Lee nodded her head vigorously as her lively eyes blinked. Kitty Lee can confirm that it's the sound of flowing water. Devil Class's students looked at each other in dismay. Apparently they couldn't believe that there would be flowing water in a place like the blazing flame nest. Let's go take a look. Yi-Ching Luo felt that something was amiss. Following Kitty Lee, the group followed the sound of flowing water. After walking a few dozen meters, he saw a clear stream flowing down from the upper reaches of a dense forest. That sound of flowing water, in everyone's ears, sounded like a lively tune. And near that stream, they saw an academy's students, around 70 to 80 of them. At this moment, they were extremely excited as they stood by the stream, pointing at it, not knowing what they were talking about. The 10 over students behind them saw the stream and their eyes lit up. All of them hurriedly ran towards the direction of the stream. Be careful. Yi-Ching Luo calmly reminded them as she stared at that clear stream. There's something strange here, it's best to be careful. The Devil Class students nodded their heads in agreement. There's a strange feeling in the surroundings, don't go near for now. The 10 over students could only give up and obediently return behind the Devil Class students. At this moment, the 70 to 80 students from the other academies directly rushed to the side of the stream. One by one, they took out their water bags and filled them to the brim. After filling up all the water bags, with a splash, a group of students jumped into the stream. The stream is shallow. However, it did not affect them from splashing around in the water. Over the past few days, he had received cruel training in the flame lair. There was no way to clean himself up. Their bodies reeked of sweat. Now that he saw the stream, he wanted to soak in it for 3 days and 3 nights without wanting to get up. He heard the laughter of the students over there. The students of Devil Class were actually feeling restless in their hearts. However, the surrounding feeling was indeed too strange. They could not put their finger on it. It was just that, this stream should not have appeared here. At this moment, they suddenly heard a shout from the side of the stream, all of you, quickly come ashore. This stream is not safe. They saw a young man dressed in a lake-colored uniform, rushing over in a hurry. Chapter 1565. Those students who were happily splashing in the water, on seeing this young man who had popped out of nowhere, why would they bother about him? Hey, lad! Scram to one side. What's not safe? What's not safe about the stream? I think you lad are trying to scare us away, then monopolize this stream. Sentence after sentence of ridicule made that young man's face turn steely green. The flustered expression on his face slowly faded away. Replacing it was a stretch of coldness. Something happened, then don't blame me for not warning you beforehand. The young man gave a cold harumph, but didn't continue to dissuade her. Instead he stood by the side of the stream, at a slightly safer position, occasionally extending his head to look at the movement of the stream, as though he was waiting for something. After Yi-Ching Luo saw that young man, she walked over directly. The group of people behind her followed closely behind. Hearing the footsteps, the young man turned his head back in alarm. When he met with Yi-Ching Luo's pair of dazzling eyes, his eyes shot out an ecstatic glow. Ching Luo. I've finally found you. The young man rushed up anxiously, stretching out his hand to grab Yi-Ching Luo's wrist. A tall figure blocked the young man's outstretched hand. The young man was stunned, as he lowered his eyes to look at his own hands, realizing that he was too agitated. He hurriedly lowered his head to apologize. Ah, Jean, move aside. Yi-Ching Luo looked at Long Yun-Jean who was blocking in front of her, and then looked at the young man's pale face, as she raised her hand to push Long Yun-Jean away. Han Shang, what's the matter? This young man was Mo Han Shang. Qing Luo, that stream has a problem. Our academy students were all swallowed by the stream. Mo Han Shang said anxiously, as his eyes were filled with anxiety. Nantao Academy's students were swallowed by the stream. When the crowd heard this, their gazes immediately shot towards that stream. We were like them previously, thinking that we met with a stream, and were washing ourselves in the stream. Suddenly there seemed to be something dragging us into the stream. That stream is obviously very shallow, but I saw with my own eyes each and every student being dragged into the stream. Mo Han Shang recalled the situation back then, as he still had some lingering fear. Yi Qing Luo sized Mo Han Shang up meaningfully. Why didn't you go into the water? Mo Han Shang was startled. He shifted his gaze away unnaturally and said with a bitter voice, I don't know how to swim, so I might as well wait for the students by the shore. Yi Qing Luo didn't interrogate him forcefully. Her vision went past Mo Han Shang and looked towards that stream. From the looks of it, there should be something below this stream. It's either a magical beast from this blaze nest, or it's a magical beast that Master Gui Wu let in. What about my classmates? Not sure. Yi Qing Luo shook her head, but no news is also the best news. Let's observe the situation first before making a decision. The reason why Yi Qing Luo said this was because she didn't smell any blood stench in the air. Of course, it was also possible that the smell was drowned out by the stream. Before she was certain, Yi Qing Luo would not come to a conclusion easily. Right at this moment, a heart-wrenching scream suddenly rang out from the stream. Sister Nuo! A rough male voice rang out, and a figure could be seen leaping into the stream. Immediately following that clear stream had unknowingly turned into a whirlpool. That figure pounced onto thin air. He watched helplessly as the young lady was drawn into the whirlpool. And the surrounding students were no exception. Chapter 1566. Behind the devil class, those 10 students felt a chill down their spines when they saw this scene. They were rejoicing that they had listened to Yi Qing Luo's devil class words and didn't rush to the stream. Otherwise, the people who were swept into the whirlpool would be them. No one knew what was underneath the stream. They only knew it was just a moment's effort. Those bunch of students who were still in the stream earlier were all swept into the water. The stream had once again regained its original tranquility. There wasn't even a single ripple on the surface of the stream. Those students who were still on the riverbank froze on the spot as their faces turned extremely pale. No one dared to go near the direction of the stream. Sister Nuo! Sister Nuo! Right in this silent atmosphere. A loud roar broke the silence. They saw that person who had pounced on the riverbank trying to save them, standing by the stream, shouting, Sister Nuo. His face was filled with anxiety and worry. Behind him, there were only 10 students who had not pounced into the stream earlier as they grabbed hold of that person. Young Master Ji, don't be rash. We don't know what's below the stream, you can't go down. My sister Nuo is below. The person who was addressed as young master bellowed with a sinister expression. Suddenly, his arm exerted strength as he pulled those few students behind him and threw them into the stream. You find my sister Nuo for me. Otherwise I will let you accompany her to death. Those few students had no time to react. Even when they were pushed into the stream by young Master Ji. But in the blink of an eye, that stream swirled up another whirlpool, directly sweeping those students who had fallen into the depths of the stream. The remaining few students subconsciously retreated, distancing themselves from that young Master Ji. Qing Luo, what's going on? Yan Xiaoyi squinted her beautiful eyes as she stared at the direction of the stream, frowning tightly. Yiqing Luo shook her head. There's something below the stream. Currently we are unable to determine if that thing is dangerous or not. Kitty doesn't smell any blood or killing stench. Kitty Lee blinked her eyes. Do you want to go over to take a look? Tong Ziqing asked Yiqing Luo's opinion. Yiqing Luo pondered for a moment. Those who are fast, follow me to take a look. The rest of you stay here and don't casually move forward. Towards Yiqing Luo's instructions. The students of the devil class were all obedient. Devil class is 13 people and Imo Han Shang, who was following closely behind Yiqing Luo, together with Dong Huang Lang and Qi Yijing, crossed the trees and walked directly towards the stream. He heard someone's voice. Standing on the shore, young Master Ji, who is still shouting, Sister Nua, turns his head with scarlet eyes. His gaze coincidentally met with Yiqing Luo's. A look of hatred and resentment shot out from young Master Ji's eyes. Bitch, it's actually you. When she saw the person in front of her clearly, Yiqing Luo was stunned. Wasn't this the Blue Dragon Mercenary Group's group leader, Ji Tsang Tian, whom they had met when the World Mercenary Group had just been established? That Ji Tsang Tian who could casually kill his own mercenary group's brothers for the woman he loved deeply. What a small world. Ever since the Blue Dragon Mercenary Group was removed from the Mercenary Association, Yiqing Luo and the others had never seen this pair of strange and twisted couple. She had not expected that they would meet again. This person was Ji Tsang Tian. Chapter 1567. Yiqing Luo still remembered that most of the Blue Dragon Mercenary Group's members were students from some academy. It seemed like it should be called the Immortal Phoenix Academy. Although this academy was not as good as the Heavenly Academy, Nantao Academy, and other first-tier academies. However, it was still a famous second-tier academy. Seeing these two people, the youths in Devil class could not conceal the despise and disdain in their eyes. They didn't have a good impression of this kind of person who didn't hesitate to kill a brother who had gone through life and death with him just to please a woman. Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered to waste time on this kind of beast. He walked past Ji Tsang Tian and walked towards the stream. When Ji Tsang Tian saw Yiqing Luo, he was immediately filled with rage as it gushed into his heart. He was originally a high and mighty mercenary group leader. Due to Blue Dragon Mercenary Group's status in the pugilistic world, his status in the Ji family had also risen. But everything was ruined in the hands of this woman. Everything was ruined in the hands of the World Mercenary Group. Blue Dragon Mercenary Group was removed from the list. The entire Ji family had been blacklisted by the Mercenary Union. If it wasn't for Lan Ling Nuo's status as a princess, the Mercenary Union would probably send people to destroy him. He hated Yiqing Luo. World Hatred Mercenary Group. He hated everyone who had ruined him. And the person he hated. But as if he couldn't see him, he directly walked past him. No matter how slow-witted Ji Tsang Tian was. At this moment, he understood that Yiqing Luo totally disregarded him. Looking at Yiqing Luo's departing figure, anger started to rise in Ji Tsang Tian's heart. Without thinking, he directly strode forward and stretched out his hand to pull Yiqing Luo. However, Ji Tsang Tian's hand had just stretched out. He let out a howl like a pig being slaughtered. Oh! Ouch, ouch, ouch. He saw the man beside Yiqing Luo, who was like an ice mountain, using a pair of azure blue eyes, staring coldly at him. Under the gaze of those eyes, Ji Tsang Tian felt his entire body turning cold. A chill ran from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head. He was horrified. However, he was unable to move his body. His hand was tightly grasped by the blue-eyed man. With a little more force, he heard the sound of his own bones breaking. Ji Tsang Tian's face turned pale as he was extremely terrified. Yiqing Luo then shifted her gaze onto Ji Tsang Tian. Her charming eyes were filled with unconcealable mockery. Yiqing Luo's lips curled as she sneered, "Ji Tsang Tian, your beloved woman's life or death is unknown and you still have the mood to waste time here. If you really love that little sister Nuo, to the point that you've gone crazy, shouldn't you directly dive into the water and live and die together with your little sister Nuo?" You! Ji Tsang Tian's words were stuck in his throat. Behind him, there were even voices of agreement from his own academy's students. Exactly. If you love Goddess Lan so much, why don't you go look for her yourself? He even pushed us, innocent students, into the water. This person's character is really, it's because of his bad character that he was expelled from the mercenary union. If it wasn't for his strong background, no matter where he goes, he would definitely be beaten up by everyone. Ji Tsang Tian's face was steely green as he stared furiously at those students. The students of the Celestial Phoenix Academy shrunk their necks, not daring to speak again. Taking advantage of this gap, Yiqing Luo had already walked to the side of the stream. Long Yunzhan also shook off Ji Tsang Tian's hand. The group of 10 over people stopped by the side of the stream. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.